June stretched his tired back as he checked the oxygen levels on his tablet. The numbers looked good. Another normal day on the dark side of the moon. His small habitat dome sat alone on the gray dust, far from the main Korean lunar base. Most workers hated the quiet out here, but Jun had asked for this post. After losing his parents in the Mars accident 5 years ago, being alone felt easier. "Hey Navi, how are the mining drones doing today?" Jun asked his AI assistant. A soft blue light pulsed from the small speaker on his desk. "All drones are working at normal capacity, Jun. Drone 7 needs a filter change in the next 2 days." Jun nodded and made a note. His job was simple: maintain the drones that dug for rare metals in the lunar soil. The drones sent the metals back to the main base, and Jun made sure the drones kept working. He had been doing this job for 3 years now. The habitat was small, but had everything he needed: a bed, a small kitchen, a workstation, and a tiny garden where he grew some herbs. Pictures of Earth's mountains and rivers covered one wall. Sometimes he missed the blue skies and the sound of water, but the moon had its own kind of beauty. "Navi, play some music please, something calm." Soft piano music filled the room as Jun made his dinner: a simple bowl of rice with dried vegetables and lab-grown beef. As he ate, he looked out the small window at the stars. They looked different from the moon, brighter and more still. After dinner, Jun put on his suit to do a routine check of the exterior sensors. He went through the airlock and stepped onto the lunar surface. His boots left perfect prints in the dust that would stay there for thousands of years if left alone. No wind or rain to wash them away. Jun carefully checked each sensor, cleaning off the fine moon dust that sometimes covered them. The Earth hung in the black sky, blue and green and beautiful. Jun allowed himself a moment to look at it before turning back to his work. As he moved to the last sensor, something caught his eye: a flash of light in the distance, too bright and too quick to be a star. He frowned. Maybe it was just sunlight reflecting off a piece of space junk. There was a lot of old satellite parts floating around. But then he saw it again: a light that moved in a way that didn't make sense. It zigzagged, then stopped, then moved again. "Navi, are you seeing this?" he asked through his helmet comm. No answer came back. Strange. The comm system never failed. "Navi? Base? Can anyone hear me?" Still nothing. The lights in the distance were getting brighter, and now Jun could see that they were coming toward him. His heart began to beat faster. He turned and hurried back to the habitat, moving as quickly as he could in the low gravity. Inside the airlock, Jun waited impatiently for the cycle to complete. Once inside, he quickly removed his helmet. "Navi, we need to contact base right now." But Navi didn't answer. All the systems in the habitat seemed to be working, but the AI was silent, and the communication panel showed only static. The habitat suddenly shook, a low rumble that vibrated through the floor. Jun lost his balance and fell against the wall. The lights flickered, then came back on. Something was outside. Something big had landed near his habitat. Jun grabbed an emergency flare gun from the wall cabinet. It wasn't much of a weapon, but it was all he had. He stood facing the airlock, his hands shaking. The exterior airlock door opened. Someone, or something, was coming in. Jun backed up until he hit the far wall. The inner airlock door remained closed while the air pressurized. Minutes passed. Jun's mouth was dry with fear. Finally, the inner door slid open. 3 tall figures stood in the airlock. They had to duck to fit through the door, their heads nearly touching the ceiling of the habitat. Jun stared at them, too shocked to move. They were not human. Their bodies were covered in a smooth, shiny material that looked like mother of pearl. It shifted colors as they moved, blue to green to purple. Each had 4 arms and stood on 2 thin legs. Their faces had multiple small eyes arranged in a pattern around a central point. They had no visible mouths that Jun could see. The tallest one stepped forward, and Jun raised the flare gun with trembling hands. "Stay back," he shouted. The being stopped and raised all four of its hands slowly. It made a series of clicking sounds, and parts of its body lit up with patterns of light. The other two beings remained in the doorway, perfectly still. "I don't understand you," Jun said, the gun still pointed at them. The tall being tried again, making different sounds and light patterns. When Jun didn't respond, it reached slowly to a belt around its middle and took out a small device. It held the device out to Jun, then placed it carefully on the floor and stepped back. Jun looked at the device, then at the beings. Slowly, keeping the gun raised, he moved forward and picked up the device. It was smooth and round, with no obvious buttons. As soon as he touched it, the device lit up and floated out of his hand. It hovered in the air between Jun and the beings, spinning slowly. Human male. Korean language detected. Initiating translation matrix. The voice came from the device, speaking in slightly robotic but clear Korean. "We greet you, human of Earth," the device continued, apparently translating the clicks and lights from the tall being. "We apologize for the disruption. We have disabled your communications temporarily for security. You will not be harmed." "Who are you? What do you want?" Jun asked, lowering the gun slightly. "We are the HFY," came the translation. "We have been searching. You have been selected." "Selected? For what?" "For audience with Her Majesty, the Queen of the Unified HFY Systems. You must come with us." Jun shook his head. "I'm not going anywhere. I need to contact my base." The beam's body flashed with rapid patterns of light. "It is an honor beyond measure to be summoned by the Queen. No harm will come to you. You will be returned if that is your wish after the audience." "Why me? I'm just a mining technician." The being made a gesture that Jun couldn't interpret. "That is for the Queen to explain. We have prepared suitable accommodations for your journey. You may bring personal items if you wish." Jun looked around his small habitat. He could try to fight, but what chance did he have against these beings and whatever technology they possessed? They could have hurt him already if they wanted to. "How long will this journey take?" he asked. "Approximately 28 of your Earth days to reach the HFY homeworld." "A month." Jun felt dizzy at the thought. No human had ever traveled beyond Mars. And now these aliens wanted to take him to their homeworld. "I need to let my base know I'm alive. They'll think something happened to me." The beam's lights pulsed slowly. "Once we are away from your moon, a message can be sent. This is for security. The Queen has instructed that your people not be alarmed, but direct contact must wait." Jun took a deep breath. He didn't seem to have much choice. "What should I bring?" "Personal items only. We have studied human needs and have prepared for them." Jun slowly lowered the flare gun and placed it on the table. He went to his small bedroom and grabbed his tablet, some photos, and a small plant his mother had given him before she left for Mars. He put everything in a bag, then looked around one last time at the place that had been his home for 3 years. The beings led him out of the habitat and across the lunar surface. A ship waited there, sleek and silver in the starlight. It was unlike any human spacecraft Jun had ever seen. No visible engines or windows, just smooth curves that seemed to absorb the light around it. As they approached, a door appeared in the side of the ship, opening silently. Inside, the walls glowed with soft light, and the air smelled like flowers. One of the beings led Jun to a room that looked surprisingly like a hotel suite on Earth. There was a bed, chairs, a desk, and what appeared to be a bathroom. The only strange thing was that everything was slightly larger than normal. "Rest," the translator device said. "We depart soon. The journey begins." The being left, and Jun was alone. He sat on the edge of the bed, his bag clutched in his hands. Through a small window, he could see his habitat dome getting smaller as the ship rose silently from the lunar surface. Earth and the moon shrank to tiny blue and gray dots then disappeared altogether as the stars around them stretched into lines of light. June watched as everything he had ever known vanished into the darkness of space. Days passed slowly on the alien ship. June tried to keep track of time, but it was hard without the normal day and night cycle. The lights in his room dimmed for what he guessed was nighttime, but he wasn't sure if it matched Earth time. The aliens, the HFY, as they called themselves, brought him food 3 times a day. The food looked strange, but tasted like fruits and vegetables from Earth. They also gave him water that tasted cleaner than any he had ever had. June was allowed to walk around parts of the ship. He couldn't go to the engine room or the control room, but he could visit what seemed like a garden area. Plants that he had never seen before grew there, some glowing with soft blue and purple light. The tall HFY who had first spoken to him was named Tal, or at least that was how the translator made it sound. Tal seemed to be in charge of taking care of June. "How much longer until we reach your world?" June asked Tal on what he thought was the 20th day of travel. 4 more days, Tal answered through the translator. "The Queen is eager to meet you." "But why?" June asked for what felt like the 100th time. "Why me? I'm nobody special." Tal's body flashed with lights. "The Queen will explain everything. It is not my place." June sighed. He had gotten the same answer every time he asked. On the 24th day, Tal came to June's room with what looked like clothes. "We will arrive tomorrow," Tal said. "These are for you to wear when you meet the Queen." The clothes were made of a light material that felt like silk but stronger. They were dark blue with silver patterns that reminded June of stars and planets. "Thank you," June said. He had learned that the HFY valued politeness. That night, June could not sleep. He kept wondering what would happen when he met the Queen. Why had she sent her people across space just to find him? What did she want? In the morning, Tal came to get him. "We are arriving. Come to the viewing room." June followed Tal to a large room with a wall that seemed to be made of clear glass. Outside, he could see stars and then, as the ship turned, a planet. It was beautiful, larger than Earth, with rings like Saturn but more colorful. The planet itself was mostly blue and green, with white clouds swirling over the surface. 2 small moons orbited around it. "This is HFY, our home," Tal said. As they got closer, June could see cities on the surface. They glowed with blue and purple light, like the plants on the ship. Some of the cities seemed to be built in perfect circles, others in spiral patterns. The ship entered the planet's atmosphere, and June watched as they flew over vast oceans and forests. The trees were not green like on Earth, but purple and blue. Finally, they approached the largest city June had seen yet. In the center of the city was a building that looked like a giant flower. Its petals reached up toward the sky, and light pulsed through it in waves. "The Royal Palace," Tal said. "The heart of the HFY civilization." The ship landed on a platform near the palace. When June stepped out, he gasped. The air smelled sweet, like flowers, and felt richer than the air on the ship. 2 suns shone in the sky, one large and yellow, the other smaller and more orange. A group of HFY waited for them. They wore shiny coverings that June guessed were like clothes or maybe armor. They led June and Tal to a vehicle that floated above the ground and took them to the palace. Inside the palace, the walls seemed alive. They glowed and changed colors, and sometimes patterns moved across them like waves. The ceilings were high, and the floors were smooth and warm under June's feet. They walked through many halls, passing other HFY who stopped and stared at June. Some made clicking sounds to each other, their bodies flashing with light patterns. Finally, they reached 2 large doors that opened by themselves. Beyond was the biggest room June had ever seen. The ceiling was so high he could barely see it, and the walls curved up to meet in a point far above. In the center of the room was a raised platform with something that looked like a chair, but it was shaped for a HFY body, not a human one. and on that chair sat a HFY larger than any June had seen before. This one's pearl-like covering had more colors in it, shifting between deep purple and gold. A crown-like structure rose from its head, glowing with soft light. "Queen Ryu," Tal said, bowing low. "I present the human, June, as you commanded." The queen looked at June. Her multiple eyes seemed to study every part of him. There were many other HFY in the room, standing along the walls, but they were all silent. Then something unexpected happened. The queen stood up from her chair and walked down from the platform. The other HFY in the room made sounds that June's translator didn't catch, but they sounded surprised or shocked. The queen walked straight to June. She was much taller than him, at least 7 feet tall. She stopped right in front of him, looking down at him. June didn't know what to do. Should he bow? Kneel? The translator hadn't told him the proper way to greet alien royalty. Before he could decide, the queen did something that made all the HFY in the room gasp. She bent down and wrapped her 4 arms around June in what could only be described as a hug. Then she spoke, not in clicks or light patterns, but in perfect Korean. "I finally found you, my human," she whispered near his ear. June froze, too shocked to move. The queen of an alien civilization had just hugged him and spoken his language perfectly. The room exploded with noise. HFY were clicking and flashing lights at each other. Some seemed angry, others confused. The queen released June and raised one of her arms. The room fell silent instantly. "I know you have questions," she said to June, still speaking Korean. "I will answer them." She turned to the other HFY. "Leave us. I wish to speak with the human alone." Many of the HFY seemed unhappy with this order, but they obeyed, filing out of the large doors. Tal hesitated, then left too. Soon, only June and the queen remained in the massive room. The queen sat on the steps leading up to her throne and gestured for June to sit beside her. Confused but curious, he did. "How do you speak my language?" he asked. "I learned it," she said, "just as I learned many things about humans. About you, specifically, June." "But why? Why me?" The queen's eyes seemed to soften. "Because you are special. More special than you know." She paused. "What do you know about human history, June? About where humans came from?" June shrugged. "We evolved on Earth. From primates. Over millions of years." "Yes. But there is more to the story." The queen's body glowed with gentle light patterns. "Millions of years ago, a warship crashed on your planet. The crew could not repair their ship or contact our world. They were stranded." June listened, not sure where this was going. Those HFY did something desperate, something that had never been done before. The queen looked directly at June. "They mixed their genetic material with the early primates on your planet. They hoped to create a new species that would one day reach the stars and find us." June's mouth fell open. "Are you saying humans are part HFY?" The queen said. "Our lost children, who we have been searching for since we developed space travel. The HFY who were stranded on Earth left genetic markers in human DNA, a way for us to recognize our kin when we found them again." June shook his head. "That's impossible." "Is it?" the queen asked. "Have you never wondered why humans look up at the stars with such longing? Why you dream of space when your bodies evolved on a planet with gravity too strong for comfortable space travel? It is because part of you remembers where you came from." "But why me?" June asked again. "There are billions of humans." The queen's colors shifted to a deep gold. "The genetic markers in most humans have become weak over time. But in you, June, they are strong. Stronger than in any human we have tested. And they match a very specific pattern." She paused. "They match the royal bloodline of the HFY." "What?" "The commander of the lost ship was my ancestor," the queen said. "And you, June, are the direct descendant of that commander. You carry royal HFY blood." June felt dizzy. This couldn't be real. He was just a mining technician from the moon. A nobody. How could he be related to alien royalty? I know this is difficult to understand, the queen said, but it is the truth, and it is why I had to find you. She looked at him with all her eyes. You are the link between our peoples, the living proof that humans and HFY are one family. June looked at his hands. They looked human to him, not alien at all. But if what the queen said was true, then everything he thought he knew about himself and about humanity was wrong. What happens now? He asked quietly. The queen stood. Now we begin to heal the separation of millions of years. And you, June, will help me do it. The news spread quickly through the royal palace and then across the planet. Queen Ryu had found a human with royal HFY blood. For the next few days, June was given a large room in the palace and new clothes. Servants brought him food and showed him how to use the strange bathroom. Tal visited often to answer his questions. June learned that the HFY ruled over 30 star systems. They were one of the oldest civilizations in this part of the galaxy. The queen had been searching for humans with strong HFY genetic markers for many years. A week after his arrival, June was sitting in a garden inside the palace when Tal came to him looking worried. The queen requests your presence, Tal said. There is trouble. What kind of trouble? June asked. Some HFY do not believe the queen's claims about you. They do not want a human to have any place in our society. June followed Tal through the palace to a large room with a round table. Queen Ryu sat at one side. Across from her was another HFY, larger than most, and with dark green colors moving across its pearl-like skin. This is General Sun, Tal whispered to June. Leader of our military forces. He is not happy about your presence here. The queen saw June and waved him over. Come, sit beside me, she said in Korean. June walked to her side, feeling the eyes of many HFY on him. He sat in a chair that was too big for him. General Sun has concerns, the queen said to June. He does not believe that humans should be recognized as our kin. General Sun made clicking sounds that the translator changed to words. Humans are violent and primitive. They fight among themselves. They damage their own planet. They are nothing like us. They are young, the queen replied. Give them time to grow. We have studied their history, General Sun said. Wars, killing, destruction. Is this what you want to bring into our peaceful civilization? June felt uncomfortable. He couldn't deny that humans had a history of violence. The human should prove his worth, General Sun said, looking at June with what seemed like dislike. If he truly has royal blood, he should be able to pass the royal trials. The queen's colors darkened. The royal trials are dangerous even for HFY who have trained for them. If he cannot pass them, then he is not worthy of your attention, General Sun said. The room was quiet. Everyone waited for the queen's response. I will do it, June said before the queen could speak. I'll take these trials. The queen looked at him with concern. You don't understand what you're agreeing to. I need to show them I'm worthy, June said, or they'll never accept me or any human. After a long pause, the queen nodded. Very well. The royal trials will begin tomorrow. That night, Tal came to June's room to explain the trials. There are 4 tests, Tal said. The test of mind, the test of creation, the test of heart, and the test of courage. They are designed to prove that you have the qualities needed to be part of the royal line. What happens if I fail? June asked. You will be sent back to Earth, and the queen's claim about human HFY kinship will be rejected. June didn't sleep well that night. He worried about the trials ahead. He was just a mining technician. How could he pass tests meant for alien royalty? The next morning, June was taken to a room with no windows. The walls were covered in strange symbols that glowed and moved. The test of mind, Tal explained. You must solve puzzles created by our greatest thinkers. General Sun and the queen watched as June approached the wall. The symbols rearranged themselves into what looked like a problem. June didn't understand the symbols, but somehow he felt he knew what they meant. It was like the knowledge was buried deep in his mind. The first puzzle was about patterns. June had to predict how the symbols would change. The second was about space and shapes. The third was so complex that June wasn't sure he understood it, but his hands moved almost by themselves, rearranging the symbols into a new pattern. When he finished, the wall glowed bright blue. "He has passed the test of mind," the Queen announced. General Sun looked surprised. The second test took place in a room filled with strange materials. June was told to create something beautiful. "The test of creation shows your ability to add beauty to the world," Tal said. June looked at the materials. There were liquids that changed colors, stones that floated, and things he couldn't even describe. He thought about what to make. Finally, he decided to create a model of Earth. He worked for hours, mixing the colored liquids to get the right blue for the oceans and green for the land. He used the floating stones to make clouds. When he was done, he had created a small, perfect model of Earth that floated in the air and slowly rotated. "This is my home," he said. "The planet where humans and old blood mixed to create something new." The Queen's colors brightened with what seemed like pleasure. He has passed the test of creation. The third test was the hardest for June to understand. He was taken to a room where a HFY sat crying. At least, June thought it was crying. Its body flashed with dark colors, and it made soft clicking sounds. "The test of heart," Tal explained. "You must help this HFY find peace." June approached the sad HFY. Through the translator, he learned that the HFY had lost its life partner in an accident. It had been sad for many years and couldn't find joy anymore. June thought about his own parents and how he had felt after losing them. He sat with the HFY and shared his own story of loss. He talked about how he had hidden on the moon, alone, trying to escape his pain. But he realized now that hiding hadn't helped. Connecting with others was the only way to heal. As they talked, the HFY's colors began to brighten. By the end of their conversation, the HFY's body glowed with soft, warm light. "He has passed the test of heart," the Queen said. General Sun was silent. The final test took place outside the palace. June was led to what looked like an arena. In the center was a creature June had never seen before. It was large, with many legs and sharp teeth. "The test of courage," Tal said. "You must cross the arena and touch the red stone on the other side. The craft beast will try to stop you." June looked at the beast, then at the small red stone across the arena. He took a deep breath and stepped into the arena. The beast saw him immediately and charged. June ran, but not toward the stone. Instead, he ran around the edge of the arena. The beast followed him, growling. June noticed that the beast was faster than him but turned more slowly. Using this knowledge, June began to zigzag. Each time the beast tried to change direction, it slowed down. June got farther and farther ahead. Finally, he saw his chance and ran straight for the red stone. The beast was too far behind to catch him. June touched the stone just as the beast reached him. A loud sound rang out, and the beast froze in place. "He has passed the test of courage," the Queen announced, using his mind rather than strength, as a true leader should. General Sun stepped forward. "He has passed all 4 tests," he admitted, "but there is still a problem. While we have been testing this human, his people have been looking for him." The Queen looked concerned. "What do you mean?" "Earth has sent ships toward our space," General Sun said. "They believe we have kidnapped one of their people. They are coming to attack us." June felt a chill. Earth's ships were no match for HFY technology. "There must be a misunderstanding," he said. "They don't know why I'm here." "This proves what I said about humans," General Sun said to the Queen. "They are quick to violence. We should destroy their ships before they reach us." "No," June shouted. "Please, let me talk to them. I can explain everything." The Queen looked at him, then at General Sun. "Bring him to the communication center," she ordered. "Let him speak to his people." As they left the arena, June worried about what would happen next. Could he stop a war between his old home and his new one? And if he did, what would his place be in this new world of the Hua? June stood in the communication center of the palace. The room was filled with screens showing stars and planets. One screen showed 5 small ships moving through space. Earth ships. They are 3 days away from our outer defense line, General Sun said. Not very large or powerful, but their weapons are active. Let me talk to them, Jum said. Please. The Queen nodded. Connect to the lead ship. Ahwad worked at a control panel. Soon, a human face appeared on the main screen. It was Captain Kim, the head of lunar security. June had met him a few times back on the moon. This is Captain Kim of Earth Union Security Force, the captain said. We demand the return of our citizen, June. Captain Kim, it's me, June said, stepping forward. Captain Kim's eyes widened. June, are you okay? Are you being forced to speak to us? No, I'm fine, June said quickly. There's been a misunderstanding. The Hua didn't kidnap me. Well, they did take me from the moon, but they had a good reason. What reason could excuse kidnapping? June looked at the Queen, then back at Captain Kim. It's complicated. The Hua and humans are connected. We share DNA. The Queen brought me here because I have a special genetic connection to the Hua royal family. Captain Kim frowned. That sounds like alien propaganda. We're coming to get you. Please don't attack, Jun said. The Hua are much more advanced. Your ships would be destroyed. I'm trying to help both sides understand each other. The Queen stepped forward. Captain Kim, I apologize for taking June without proper communication. It was wrong. But what he says is true. Humans and Hua share a history that goes back millions of years. Even if that's true, you can't just take people from their homes, Captain Kim said. You're right, the Queen admitted. We were too eager to find our lost kin. We made mistakes. Let us meet peacefully. Bring your ships to our homeworld as guests, not as attackers. Captain Kim looked unsure. How do we know this isn't a trap? I give my word as Queen of the Hua, she said. And June will send you daily messages to confirm his safety until you arrive. After a long pause, Captain Kim nodded. Agreed. But we will remain alert. When the communication ended, General Sun turned to the Queen. This is dangerous. Humans cannot be trusted. Neither can we, it seems, the Queen replied. We took June without permission. We must make this right. The next 3 days were busy. June sent messages to the Earth ships each day. The palace prepared for human visitors. And June spent time with the Queen, learning more about Hua history. There's something I don't understand, June said as they walked in the palace garden. Why did the Hua who crashed on Earth mix their DNA with early humans? Couldn't they have just built a new ship or sent a message home? The Queen's colors shifted to a deep blue. That part of the story is sad. The ship was damaged beyond repair, and they had no way to send a message across such a distance. But there's more. She paused. They had discovered something terrible just before the crash, something they needed to warn us about. What? A cycle of extinction, the Queen said. Evidence that advanced civilizations throughout the galaxy have been wiped out every 50,000 years. They found ruins of ancient cities on planets they explored, all destroyed around the same time. June frowned. What caused it? They didn't know, but they feared the Hua would be destroyed too when the cycle came again. So they didn't just mix their DNA with early humans to preserve their bloodline. They encoded a warning into the DNA itself. A warning? In our DNA? The Queen nodded. Certain patterns in human DNA match old Hua warning symbols. We didn't understand their meaning until we found records from the lost ship in an ancient database. What does the warning say? It's not complete. We need more data from human DNA to finish it. That's another reason why finding you was so important. Before June could ask more questions, Tal rushed into the garden. The Earth ships have arrived, he said, but there's a problem. General Sun has taken his personal guard to the landing area. He plans to capture the humans. The Queen's colors flashed with anger. We must stop him. Now. They hurried to a transport vehicle and flew toward the landing area at the edge of the city. When they arrived, they saw the 5 Earth ships had landed. General Sun and 20 HFY guards stood facing Captain Kim and 10 human officers. Both sides had weapons ready. Stop, the Queen shouted as she stepped from the vehicle. General Sun, stand down. General Sun turned to her. These humans cannot be trusted, my Queen. They came with weapons. Of course they did, Jun said. They think I was kidnapped. He walked between the two groups. Captain Kim, please lower your weapons. I promise you are safe here. Captain Kim hesitated, then gave an order. The humans lowered their guns. Your turn, General, he said. General Sun didn't move. This is a mistake, he said to the Queen. Humans will bring war and destruction to our peaceful worlds. The mistake was taking June without permission, the Queen said. And now you are about to start the very war you fear. Lower your weapons. After a tense moment, General Sun signaled his guards to lower their weapons. But then he did something unexpected. He pulled out a small device and pointed it at the Queen. If you bring humans into our society, you betray the HFY, he said. I cannot allow it. June saw what was happening and reacted without thinking. He jumped in front of the Queen just as General Sun activated the device. A flash of light hit June in the chest. He fell to the ground, pain spreading through his body. There were shouts and movement around him. Through blurry eyes, he saw HFY guards take General Sun away. Then the Queen was kneeling beside him. June, stay with me, she said, her voice afraid. Is everyone okay? June asked weakly. Yes, thanks to you. The Queen's hand touched his face. Our doctors are coming. You'll be fine. June wasn't sure if that was true. The pain was getting worse. But as he lay there, something strange happened. The pain began to fade, replaced by a warm feeling. His vision, which had been blurry, became very clear. He could see tiny details he had never noticed before, and he understood the light patterns on the Queen's body without needing the translator. What's happening to me? He asked. The Queen looked surprised. The weapon General Sun used, it was designed to separate HFY DNA from other species. He meant to use it on me, to prove I wasn't truly related to you. But when it hit you, it activated the HFY DNA in me. June finished, somehow knowing this was true. The Queen helped him sit up. Captain Kim and the other humans were watching with amazement. The final piece, the Queen said softly. Now we can complete the warning message. Over the next few days, doctors studied June's changed DNA. The HFY parts had become more active, giving him some HFY abilities. He could understand their light language and had better vision. But he still looked human. More importantly, the doctors were able to find the last part of the warning message in his DNA. It showed that the next extinction cycle would begin soon, within 100 years. And it revealed that only a combination of HFY technology and human creativity could stop it. 1 month after the Earth ships arrived, the Queen held a special ceremony. Humans and HFY gathered in the great hall of the palace. Captain Kim and his crew stood on one side. The HFY Royal Council stood on the other. June and Queen Ryu stood in the center. Today we recognize the truth that was hidden for millions of years, the Queen said. Humans and HFY are one family, separated by time and space, but now reunited. Together, we will face the challenge left for us by our ancestors. Together, we will survive. She turned to June and took his hand. June will serve as the bridge between our peoples. He carries both human spirit and HFY royal blood. He will help build the path forward. June looked out at the gathered humans and HFY. Just weeks ago, he had been alone on the moon, running from his past. Now he stood at the center of a new future for 2 species. As the ceremony ended, the Queen hugged him again, just as she had when they first met. But this time, she whispered something different. "Thank you for finding us, my human." June smiled. He had not just found his alien family. He had found his purpose.